So, like many home brewers, I got tired of buying the $10 1.4 ounce Burns-O-Matic oxygen cylinders for oxygenating my wort. So I recently got a 28 cubic foot oxygen cylinder, which should last me an awful long time. It's a type that has a CGA 540 threads. Those are the kind of industrial and welding gas threads. The other regulator type that's common is CGA 870, and the problem with those is that even though the cylinders are quite cheap, typically you need a prescription to get the cylinder filled, or if you go to one of the places like Airgas or whatever, they just more likely than not won't be able to or will refuse to fill it. But fortunately, it turns out that those threads aren't totally uncommon in the medical world. So I was able to buy this regulator from a company called Drive Medical. It's a pediatric regulator. The reason I bought a pediatric regulator is that typically regulators come in the ranges of pediatric is 0 to 4 liters per minute, and then the adult regulators tend to be 0 to 8 or 0 to 15. And then for emergency services, I believe some of the regulators go all the way up to 25 liters per minute. All but the pediatric one really are way more flow than you have any interest in for batches on the homebrew scale. So, out of curiosity though, I was wondering how accurate these flows are, because a lot of people say don't buy a pressure regulator, buy a flow regulator, and you can just simply dial in your flow. So this one, for instance, does a 0, 30 milliliters, 60, 125, 250, half a liter per minute, 3/4 liter per minute, 1, 1.5, 2, 3, and 4. Most of those are actually useless to us homebrewers. So we're going to do a simple test, and basically the idea is that we'll see how quickly it can displace water. So I have a graduated cylinder here that's been purged of any air. It's 100 milliliters. And what we're going to do is I've modified a funnel and put a hole in it so that I can rest the cylinder on there and then basically shove the hose in the hole, and we'll time and do a little math, and nothing too rough, and we'll get the flow rate. And I suspect, I already know, that these flow an awful lot more than what's indicated there. So I don't know if there are some special requirements in terms of the length of hose involved in order to realize that, or if you need, I believe it's called cannula, the thing that goes in your nose, that provides a certain amount of back pressure that's expected, and then these become valid numbers. But you know, in the homebrew setting, basically have something like this with a little inline particulate filter. Probably unnecessary because there's actually a sintered metal filter in the regulator itself, but I had that on there from my old Burns-O-Matic days, so what the heck, gonna leave it on. Anyhow, let's get the flow in here on the 30 and see what we get. So. Alright, so we've got no air in there, and I'm going to go ahead and just drive out all the way to 100 milliliters, and then we'll just time it and do the math that way. So when I shove it in there, I'm just going to say go. Ready, set, go. So we're already at 10. We're at 20. We're at 30. Well, I think we all know that wasn't a minute. So it's already looking bad. $50. 60. 70. 80. 90, which should have taken 3 minutes. 100. Now the 100 might have a slight error because part of the funnel is displacing fluid there, so I would only trust it up to the 90 mark. Alright, I'm going to repeat this at the next setting, which is 60 milliliters per minute. Alright, We're back and we're doing 60 milliliters per minute. And when I say go, go. The hose is in there. We're at 10. 20. 30. 40. 50. 60. 70. 80. 90. 100. And again, there's probably some error attributable to the funnel resting partly in the area between 90 and 100. So we'll use 90 for the math. We're reset here, and we're going to do we've done the 30 and the 60, and now we're going to do the 125 milliliter per minute setting. Alright. And go. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Also point out, it's probably going to be a little different with the oxygen diffusion stone, obviously because there's some back pressure from that, but again, this is just sort of a baseline thing. I suppose I probably could do the diffusion stone. It would require a deeper bucket and a larger funnel to capture all of the bubbles that are coming off of the stone, and I may do that. Back again, this time we're going to do the 250 milliliter setting. And go. 100, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Alright, we're back again, and we're going to go for 500 milliliters per minute. I'm going to get this lined up. And oh, I'm fumbling. Go. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. That happens so fast it's going to be pretty hard to be accurate with it. Alright, so in the first part of the video I think we already established that the flow readings, at least into an open hose from the medical regulator, are kind of questionable. So I have here a device called a Rotameter. Basically what it is, it's a tapered tube with a calibrated BB inside of it, which will float in the stream of gas at a different height depending on the velocity of the air flowing around and some other parameters like that. It has a needle valve in it, which I've removed just to kind of guarantee that the needle valve position isn't affecting any of the readings. So what we're going to do is a quick rundown of all the settings that we just covered in the last few minutes to see where the Rotameter says the gas flow figure is compared to the setting on the regulator. This is a pretty sensitive Rotameter. It only goes from 60 milliliters per minute to 600 milliliters per minute. So I had bought it because my hope was that it would be very sensitive, because the actual flow rates that we would normally use for 5, 10, 15 odd gallon batches are certainly within the range described here. So with that, let's get on with it. Okay, so right now the regulator is reading 30, and I'm going to let it settle for a bit. There's an input and an output, and then here's where the valve would have screwed in. I'll just put my finger over it, and you can see the BB take float, and it's currently floating at 120 milliliters per minute. We'll see how that compares with the figures arrived at by bubbling into the graduated cylinder. I'm going to go ahead and move up to 60. Give it a second to settle. It too seems to be reading, well, no, let's see here. Looks like 135, roughly. Let's go for 125. Let me just see that it falls down if I cover it. Let's stabilize a bit. It seems to be jumping around a fair bit. It's over 200. It's in the range of 215 to 220 liters per minute. Let's go to 250. Okay, that's a lot steadier, and it's kind of unsurprising because the regulator is probably not optimally operating at such low pressures. Like a lot of equipment, it works best in the middle of its operating range. In any event, at 250, it's reading, pardon the overflight, I would say that's about 380, 385. And we'll try the 500. Okay, well, as you can see, the 500 pushes it completely off the scale. So no measurement to be had there. Alright, what I've done here is I've set the regulator to 250 milliliters per minute, and the Rotameter claims it's outputting 200. So we're going to go ahead and time one to see if the Rotameter tells the truth. So, ready, set, go. So we're at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and this somewhat dubious 100. Alright, we're back, and now we have the diffusion stone under the funnel. I can't promise I'm capturing all of the gas, but I'm gonna give it a go. The cylinder's been purged. I'm going to turn it on at 30. And here we go. Obviously, the idea here is that the diffusion stone will offer some degree of back pressure, which might modify the flow rate, and we can compare that to the unimpeded flow rate. We're at 20. 30. 40. 50. 60, 70, 80, 90. Go for the 60 setting, move through as quickly as we can. 1, 2, there we are. We're at 10. 20. 30. 40. 50. 60. 70. 80. 90. Back, we're going to go for the 125 setting. So it's going to be 3 clicks. 1, 2, 3. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. The bubbles are noticeably coarser as well. I'm going to go for the 250 milliliter per minute setting. Should be, I think, 4 clicks. It's a very small amount of gas leaking out. Go. There we are. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. For the probably silly 500 milliliter per second, or I mean per minute. Feels like that sometimes. I think it's 5 clicks in. All right. Ready, set, go. All right. It's the 500. 20, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Okay, I'm not sure how I'm going to pull this off exactly, but it's set to 200. The problem is if you turn it on and off quickly, it won't really stabilize through the rotameter, so we're going to have to do something a little goosey to try to get an idea, because I don't have an inline valve, and even if I did, I think a lot of back pressure would accumulate, which would cause an error. So we're kind of just going to stand it up and say go. So we'll say go. 10. This is at 200, by the way. 20. 30. 40. 50. 60. 70. 80. 90. And that's with the rotameter reading pretty dead on 200 milliliters per minute. And the regulator set at 250. And we've got I don't know, maybe 3 feet of hose here.